on the end of a week, and it's been a busy one on the I Love CVille Network. We've talked schools for, goodness, much of September and October, and as we should. Our students are not getting to school on time. Some students in Albemarle County, Afton, Greenwood, are getting to school 2 hours late. They're riding a school bus for 4 hours a day. We've talked with Dr. Meg Bryce earlier this week, with Kelly Jackson yesterday. We've highlighted topics like equity grading, equitable grading. We've highlighted difficult topics like bus drivers and the fact that they're making $16 an hour in a community that is extremely expensive to live. I want to ask you this question. If Albemarle County is paying its bus drivers $16 an hour and the city of Charlottesville is paying them $21 an hour, who's going to get the drivers? Last night I was at a school board meeting where I watched the board choose to delay a decision on giving school bus drivers a raise from 16 to 21 to match Charlottesville City Schools, and 4 of the 3 board members chose to vote no when it came to this raise. So now this decision will be delayed another 2 weeks to the next meeting, and even if the decision is approved to give the drivers a raise in a couple of weeks, the trading has to go into play, and it won't happen till early next year, where we may or may not see additional drivers. Still, I want to put all those topics aside, and I want to talk grading today. And I want to talk grading with a man and a teacher, a man with courage and backbone and vision, a man who galvanized others in his department to co-sign a letter that we've put on the I Love CVille Network and has undoubtedly gone viral across our network. Ladies and gentlemen, and I'm working extremely hard to get this right, the fabulous, the intelligent, the visionary, Mr. Bill Munkacsy.
Wow, that was quite the introduction. I'm definitely not used to something like that, but thank you so much for having me on this show, Jerry. I guess a little bit about me, some background. I grew up in California. I went to UC Davis, got a degree in mathematics. Started teaching right out of college. Taught at Los Angeles Unified School District, and came out here over a decade ago. I taught at Beaufort and Fluvanna County, and I most recently taught at Albemarle County for 3 years, prior to just the previous 3 school years prior to this one. And I left teaching in June of 2022. So that's kind of my background.
You're working as getting training as a software developer.
Yeah, I am now decided to make the switch to. I'm doing a coding boot camp right now to learn about programming. So
I respect that.
That's my career path for going forward. So
put in perspective the difficult decision of leaving public education after 12 years, Bill.
I mean, it's always so much to make a career move like that. Like, there's a lot of things that you have to think about and consideration. Lots of talks with my wife about it. But I guess if I was happy my last year, I would have stayed. If I believed in the directions of the school, I probably would have stayed. I felt unheard. I felt devastated by the decision on the union. I felt like I wasn't. They were intruding too much into what I was doing in the room, and intruding in ways that I felt were detrimental to the education of my students and the achievement of my students. So for all those reasons, I felt that it was time to move on. And that's bittersweet, to say the least. But, here I am, and, that's good. I mean, I'm glad to be moving forward. So.
I think you're going to kill it as a software developer. I think you would kill it at anything that you put your mind to, undoubtedly. What were the aspects of teaching students that you loved?
Getting to know them, watching them grow, watching them get enthusiastic for math, the dynamics of the room, Yeah, the kids, basically, in a nutshell. The students were what made it really great, and I will always miss that. But again, I felt I had to leave, so I did.
What were aspects of the job that were difficult? The kind of aspects at night that would keep you up or cause you stress?
There's a lot put on teachers. I mean, in the end, you're the one to blame if a kid doesn't do well. There's a lot of expectation, and yeah, I mean that was the hardest part about it, I guess. Yeah, the changes I saw, and the last year was hard as well too. There was a lot of behavioral issues last year in the school. There was a lot of kids readjusting to life at school, and it was
post-COVID.
Post-COVID, exactly. It was a really hard year, I think, for almost every teacher across the nation, I'd say. But it was an especially hard year for sure. So
you'll appreciate this.
Yeah.
The talented journalist and writer Megan Rowe, watching the show right now, giving you some props. I know she's giving you some props and giving you the heart emoji here.
Oh, that's sweet.
All right, so the show is yours, my friend. I promised you that we would talk grading. I'm a man of my word here. We can go any topic you want, but grading is what this show is about. Open-ended question before we get to specifics. Grading at Albemarle County Public Schools, where would you like to begin?
Oh, geez. So when I joined the division 3 years ago, they were contracting with Ken O'Connor to, change policy around grades. There was a kind of a landmark book, Grading for Equity, that kind of pushed a lot of these changes into the forefront. And it all sounded fairly good on paper. I mean, students should be graded just on what they're accessible, products. You don't grade students for participation. You don't grade students for their behaviors, and this would create a more accurate representation of what a student knows. That was the thought behind it, and I had my doubts from the beginning, but that seemed to be the direction of of where things were headed. And then the pandemic hit, and we went kind of on, we shut down for 3 weeks. We had no idea what was happening. That first couple of weeks, everyone has experiences of how weird it was, and teaching what got weird, and, we finished out the year, and then when we came back, they used it as an opportunity to push through a lot of changes, a lot of very, maybe considering the times, maybe they were warranted, but they were certainly very broad changes to how we do things. And then that continued on next, in the previous year, the year after we shut down. I guess those changes, I could outline them. So, generally, there's always been some students who, you have to do kind of extraordinary things to get them to engage in the classroom, to pass them, to do that. And that would be things like dropping homework grades, not counting a zero here and there, letting them retake a test, let them do a class in summer, in a month that should be a year long, things like that, because we have to graduate kids, right? And those kind of tactics were reserved always for, some portion of the students. And they were warranted, I think, for that, for some students to help them to, be successful in school. But those concepts were kind of applied broadly to everyone. And I think that's quite dangerous. I don't agree with that at all. Not having deadlines, not having allow them to retake every single test, not counting homework. While I think it's acceptable for some portion of the school population, I do not think it's good for the general population. I think it's disastrous, to be perfectly honest. That's where we're at. And so, it begs the question, why did teachers grade homework to begin with? And that's a question for you, Jerry. Why did we always graded homework?
Because if I didn't have a grade on my homework, I would never do the homework. I needed the pressure of the grade to be held accountable, to do the work. I was one of those guys that was, I guess in the business world, it's work smart, not hard. And the high school, middle school, elementary school, maybe it's called a little lazy.
Yeah.
And you needed a kick in the pants to get some stuff done. And if my teachers, and I had some of the best teachers ever, I had a lot of teachers like you, Bill, that cared and went above and beyond. And if I hadn't had that accountability, I wouldn't have done the work.
I'm with you, Jerry. I'm totally with you. I wouldn't have done it either. I was a lazy boy back in high school. I mean, that's just the reality. And I think it's affecting boys more than girls.
Why is that? Maturation rates?
Maturation rates. Girls do better in school in general, and are more likely, if I say do this, they'll do it. Boys, you need to hold them accountable for it, and taking away my ability to hold, my personality isn't enough, and that's what they told me. When I brought these things up, well, you just need to inspire them to do their homework. You just need to inspire them to participate in class. And it's no, I could just assign them a grade and hold them accountable for it, and that works. And I don't think in my experience, my personality wasn't enough to get kids to do something at home that they don't necessarily want to do. And on top of it, there's a piece with the parents. If I'm not grading homework and it doesn't count, and I could put it in the grade book as something that doesn't count, but even then, the kids say, "Well, that doesn't count, so I don't need to do it." And
What does that do to your professional self-esteem when you're assigning stuff and the leadership is saying it doesn't count, and or the students are saying it doesn't count? Does that make you think, why am I doing this?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, so what was the net effect of it? Most teachers stopped assigning homework. Because what are you going to do? They're not going to do it anyway. And if you're expecting them to do it, people that in calculus classes, students were not doing their homework. That's insane to me. That's insane to me. And what is she going to do? She cannot teach everything in class. They need to do some work outside of class to understand calculus. I'm sorry. And they weren't doing their homework. Why? Well, we've done it this way for a long time, right? Anytime there's a new idea, right, you have to attack it with everything you got, right? There's so many ways we could change the grading policy. Most of it's bad. Most ways we could change it is bad. So
what does that mean? Offer clarity on that statement.
Yeah, so imagine the realm of possibilities of ways we can do grading. Most of the changes we could make are probably not going to work out, right? In the sum total of all that, right? So if we have a new idea, and it might be better, I don't know, we don't know. It could be better that we don't grade homework. I don't know. But you have to put it to the test, right? You have to attack it with everything you got on a logical basis. And I don't believe they really did that, because when I brought it up, I get nothing back other than you just need to inspire them to do their homework. It's okay.
You're getting what you're saying is resonating with the viewers and listeners. Catherine Lochner, we'll get to your comments here. She ran for Albemarle County School Board. Katie Pearl is watching. I believe she has 5 kids. She said, asking teachers to inspire all the teenagers is ridiculous. They are not magicians.
It was quite a shock to me, to be honest.
Do you think that the changes with grading were snuck in post-COVID, when all kids and parents and teachers were eager to get back to school? So with that eagerness, perhaps it created blinders or a hunger to get back in person, that stuff like this wasn't focused upon immediately?
I think they definitely snuck things through because of the pandemic. They were wanting to do it before the pandemic too. So that was clear. They wanted to change, grading to this paradigm. I'm not sure why, but they decided it would be better if we did. They after we got back, they used it as an opportunity to, it was an extraordinary circumstance. I mean, I'll give them that. Teaching on Zoom wasn't ideal. I mean, it's hard to hold do homework in that situation in a way, like it was not a good year. I mean, in terms of kids learning outcomes, that was not good, but that was an extraordinary circumstance to say the least. So, I mean, it's hard to say, like, I don't know if we could have, but certainly when we came back to real, regular in-person school, 5 days a week, we didn't need to lax standards this far, and kind of put, barriers by policy to letting teachers do their job, and hold students to a high expectation. I mean, when you think about what is an ideal student, and what does that look like? Well, he's engaged or she's engaged. They're interested in the class. They're participating. They're doing their work. They're doing well on tests. They're understanding material, right? Like, you take out some of those pieces, it's very difficult, and I think it creates, I had students who did their work no matter what, right? And I had a whole middle group that basically stopped doing homework, and it was hard to even get them to do classwork. So, and then at the bottom, well, the bottom was always the bottom. Like, we always use extraordinary measures to help them pass.
Did equity grading create equity? And did equity grading, here's an even more pointed question. Did equity grading, which is rooted in the foundation of creating fairness in an academic setting, I think that's the essence of equity grading, fairness in an academic setting.
Yeah.
It was looking to close the gap with students that were historically underachievers.
Sure.
Did equity grading, or has equity grading closed that gap, and has it helped underachievers perform better?
No. To put it simply, I think not. I've always understood equity to be, that picture of at the baseball field, and they're all standing on different levels of boxes so they can all see, right?
Yeah.
So one guy has a big box, another guy has basically no box at all, right? You're like, that was always my understanding of equity. I think that's most people's understanding of equity, right? You do what you have to, or you give that one kid, more because he needs it, right? And it has to be done individually. Like, that's the piece of education that's so important. It's all about individual kids and giving them what they need, and having policies that were probably necessary, for some groups of kids, broadly applied, it's nuts. There's no need for it. Some kids need the structure of having homework, and they do well with it. They need the grade to get them to do the work. Like, I know, like, language teachers that their participation in their class tanked because kids weren't participating because it wasn't being graded, and it was, like, you have to have some, like, there's no accountability without some stick to it, right? Some teeth to it. And that's whole one kind of section of grading, right? That of these changes. There's a whole other kind of homework is like kind of one piece of the whole puzzle, right? So there's also
talk tests.
Tests, yeah.
I'm following your lead. You talk as much as you want.
Right,
seriously, I don't even want to talk
that
today.
Well, I'm glad you're here. I'll put it that way, Jay.
There, please. The show is yours, Bill.
So, so the other big piece was assessments, how they and making the lowest grade that a student can get a 50. So the kind of rationale is a 0. If a student has a 0, it disproportionately affects their grade, and it really hurts, and it does. It really does sting to have a 0 in the grade book, and it will disproportionately hurt the student, and so forth. So we're going to make the lowest grade a 50. That way, no student They can recover, yeah. Right? Okay. So here's the issue, though. If the lowest grade's a 50, and you had a 70 in the first semester, what's the lowest grade you can get in the second to end the year without a final?
I'm sure you're probably around a 60.
Yeah, a 60. Because what's 50 plus 70, 120 divided by 2 is 60.
Right.
So you get a C.
I'm not as smart as you, but I got that.
Yeah, you get a C, a 70 the first semester. You can just not show up for the entire second semester. And we don't have finals. So guess what? You're passed. oh, that doesn't seem accurate. That doesn't seem like it's doing what we want it to do. Is that solving an issue? I mean, yeah, it's solving one issue, but you're creating a whole nother one, a whole big one, right?
What is that? What are the ones you're creating?
Well, you are creating. You don't have to do half the semester or half the year of work and still pass.
Sounds like you're rewarding mediocrity and/or rewarding laziness and/or rewarding shortcuts and/or rewarding gaming the system.
Yeah, gaming the system big time.
Explain.
That's what we saw. I mean, in like no kid's not just going to just completely stop, right? I mean, maybe some will, but for the most part, it's they'll keep it up. But like, is there really like a reason to relearn the material if the lowest grade you totally bomb a test, right? And the idea is, well, let's retake it and let them relearn it. But my grade's still a C, my grade's still a D because I had a B over here, an A on this, and as you average in the lowest grades of 50, it's pretty favorable. It's pretty favorable, and it really encouraged gaming the system.
You're passionate about this, I can tell.
I yes, I am.
Is this why you retired?
Does it say again?
Is this why you retired?
It was definitely a part of the equation. It's just sad. I don't know. It makes me very upset.
Because you care.
Because I care. It makes me upset because it's. Sorry, let me gather my thoughts for a second.
Please.
There's not a silver bullet. Right, we're all looking for a silver bullet to help.
It's a silver buckshot.
Pretty much, and it's and creating change doesn't always have the desired effect, and it seems silly that things weren't thought about. Like I said, like kind of back a little bit, you have to attack a new idea with everything you've got, right? Why wasn't this thought about? You're making a broad change to how grading's been done in America for, 70 years? Since public education in the 50s became public education, because that's when it happened, right?
And you're doing it, interestingly, post-COVID at a time when mental health, uncertainty, vulnerability, fear was more prevalent in the public school system than ever before, at a time when students had spent months, if not year plus, learning ABCs, 1, 2, 3s in the coat closet, away from people of authority. So when they get back into the classroom, that connection with authority was eroded. So when an authority comes in and then tries to offer guidance or accountability, they said, hey, over a year of my life, which is in some cases 10% of a kid's life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay?
Yeah.
Freshman, sophomore,
right.
We're talking 8% here. They're saying, no, I don't have to do this.
Don't have to do it. And we saw that over and over again. I mean, or just not knowing how to engage with the system again. It was a big relearning process. And then we're changing all the rules, and saying, well, teachers shouldn't have a way of, they shouldn't use grades to motivate behavior, right? So what do I have to motivate behavior? What do I have? My personality?
I personally find you very charming.
Well, thank you. I do my best, but I need something other than that. Like, really, I do. And it was very frustrating. It was very frustrating. I mean, and some kids would do their work regardless. I mean, it's that's the thing with public school education. You see everything, right? You have to deal with everything, and you have to deal with it. I don't know. And I have to have the tools to deal with it.
Where did this come from? Did this come from?
Oh man.
Is this Dr. Haas? Is this the school board?
Yeah, I think it's Haas. I don't think the school board. I think they more. I don't think they really know what's going on. I'll be honest with you. I really don't.
I saw that last night. I'll echo that.
I don't think they do. I mean, I think it's hard. Like, unless you're in it, it's hard to know what's going on, right? And they're not in it. I mean, and that's not their job to be in it. It's Haas's job to be in it. It's his administrator's job to be in it, and they should be making good recommendations to the school board. That's their job, right? They're the professionals, right? And I think there's, education as a social issue it's a big one, right? And
what's that mean? Education is a social issue.
Well, how do we, lower the gap? How do we do that? And no one knows. And this experiment's been going on 40 years, across the nation, and no one knows it. No, and we really do want to help. Everyone's sincere in this. And so, you hit a wall, and maybe grading needs to be changed. I don't know, I think that's the thought. But again, it needs to be attacked. The thought needs to be attacked with everything you got before you implement broad policy. All these what ifs, they need to be addressed. Maybe it's good that we don't grade homework. I don't know. It wasn't good for my classroom, but maybe it's good.
All right, devil's advocate for the sake of a talk show. Okay, for the sake of a talk show. You teach math. Math, I would think of any subject in school requires the reinforcement skills, the practice of homework. It is formula based. You get the answer by going through this routine, this process, this methodology. Math, and I'm devil's advocate for the sake of a talk show, I'm of the mindset that homework should be every subject. I want my kid to have homework. My kids are rising, our kid, my wife is watching, is rising kindergartner. One of the reasons we are not thinking ACPS, one of the many reasons, is this.
Yeah.
Very straightforwardly.
I know.
And
Me
it's
too.
not like we're Scrooge McDuck swimming in gold coins here. A private school tuition would be difficult pill to swallow for us.
Us too.
Difficult pill to swallow. Okay. So, sake of a talk show though.
Yeah.
Okay. Math, you need the homework to reinforce methodologies and processes. Do you need the same thing for creative writing, English?
English, you need
History.
to read at home. They have to be expected to read at home.
Okay.
Have to. I don't know. They have to be expected to read at home and bring it and write something at home. I don't know. You're using up so much class time if you have to read the book in class, which some classrooms have to do because kids aren't reading at home. So what do? Well, okay, we read the book in class. I think that's not a good use of class time, but it is what it is.
Especially for the kids that read the book at home. And then
Especially for them, yes.
Redundantly reading the same thing they read at home, pretty much learning nothing in the class.
Pretty much.
Is that right?
I'm not an English teacher. I don't know, but I think they need to be able, they should be expected to read at home. I don't think that's too much of an ask. I think history the same. I think science, some lab write-up or something. You should have some expectation. It's not that we could not have you couldn't expect kids to do things at home. It's just you couldn't hold them accountable for it, right? So I don't know, but yeah, it's you have to in most functioning classrooms there should be some reasonable expectation of some amount of work outside of home. Outside of the classroom, to supplement what they're learning in the class. You get further that way, right? If you don't have to do everything in the classroom. And yeah, I think especially on a block schedule like we were, where every other day you see the kids. The kids need, especially in math, they need to practice something, because it's a little bit of a break and. Especially over we had 4-day weekend. Sometimes we wouldn't see the kids for 5 days because of how weekends would go. And yeah, they should do something at home to reinforce it.
Let's talk about your letter. Props. Here's the props button. The letter was fantastic, extremely well written. I don't know if Megan offered a little guidance.
Yes, Megan definitely offered guidance on that.
I could tell a journalist wrote the letter.
She was my editor.
It was clear to me that was the case.
Yeah.
I used to work with his wife at the Daily Progress. She's a fantastic writer. Talk to me about the mindset. How about the flip book of writing this letter? Because, dude, that took cojones.
Well, I was with a group of other math teachers at lunch. We were all fed up with it, and I was tired of whining about it, with the group, and I just said, hey, I'm going to write a letter. I wrote it. They all looked at it. Megan edited it, and I brought it to all them, and I asked for their input. We did another draft, and we got something that we could all stand behind. I didn't go beyond the math department. I just knew my colleagues very well, and I did tell, I did share it more broadly with the school after I sent it, but. And it was well received, I have to say, by the other teachers. There was, there's a couple of teachers that, we had a conversation about it, but for the most part, it was well received.
Was there fear in writing the letter?
Yeah.
Fear of retribution from the superintendent's office?
Not that. No, I never felt that.
Then what was the fear?
You're taking it. Yeah, in some ways, I guess it's a fear of retribution. You're taking it on like a big topic on, and you're bringing, light to it, or you're sharing it with people. So that's some of the fear. I mean, it's
fear of being called a racist.
No, I never felt that. There was, after I sent it, I got called in by my administrator to have a talk about it. We had a mandatory meeting set up with one of the people we contract with for the grading policy. Who
you and them?
The whole math department had a mandatory meeting, where we're gonna talk about grading and why this change is good. And so they brought on their consultant, who didn't say anything we didn't know. He just told us again, just inspire the kids, and you got to show them that homework matters by requiring it on it, by them not doing well on tests. It's a weird kind of jumble of thought, It doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, we had that meeting. At that meeting, administrator told us, basically, downtown's who's paying our paycheck, and if we don't like it, we should look for another job.
That's what you were told.
Yeah.
And that
in that meeting.
That to that point, just like that?
It was more well said than that, but he said, if you're, as far as I know, if
this is the consultant or your
No,
administrator?
my administrator.
What does administrator mean?
Well, there's 5 at Admiral High School. There's a principal and 4 APs.
So this is the vice principal.
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But it's one of them.
Okay.
Yes. And yeah, he said, if as far as I know, downtown pays your paycheck, and this policy is what it is, and if you really don't like it, there's other places you can work.
Good Lord.
I was surprised, and I took that to heart too. I was like, okay,
you're expendable.
Right, I guess
they're not loyal to you.
They have their vision. Right? Their vision is the utopia of education, that they're going to solve all these issues, and you're just in the way. Okay, all right, I'll go somewhere else. We had 5 math teachers leave, not all for. There was many personal reasons why that happened, right? But
within what window of that conversation?
Some have already made their decision. But that wasn't. Didn't leave just because of that comment.
I think that's the proverbial icing on the cake.
Yeah, it was definitely apropos.
Yeah, right. Okay, so let me ask you this.
Yeah.
And this is you specifically here. I'm not trying to collectively group others in this.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind when your heart, your mind, your spirit, when an administrator, your superior, says, well, you can leave. We sign your paychecks. Downtown does. Do it our way or hit the highway. That's essentially what was happening. Yeah. What did that do to your spirit when you're already overworked, underpaid, dealing with conditions post-COVID that no teacher should deal with?
No, it was a hard year. Yeah. It was definitely, I guess, eye-opening, okay, I'm not going to get listened to. Okay. I will make a bigger deal out of this. I'll quit, and fine. The world is big. It's a big place. There's a place for me somewhere else. Fine, Yeah, it was definitely a little shocking that he said that, but that's okay. There's a lot of pressure last year. Last year was a hard year. a lot going on. There was just a lot of behaviors to deal with. There was a whole grading policy that we implemented. It was a tough year. I hear it's going a lot better though this year, so I'm glad to hear that.
What'd you make of the Crozet Gazette article, Lisa Martin's article?
Oh yeah,
that you were very much a part of.
Yeah,
did you know you were going to be a part of that article?
No, I did not.
So the letter got in the hands, and Lisa's a fantastic journalist. I think she documented everything very fairly and accurately. I thought the journalism from Lisa Martin, the Crozet Gazette, was fair and balanced. What did you make of the Crozet Gazette article that you were very much featured within?
It spoke true. It was very true to the conditions last year. It was a tough year. I smelled marijuana in the hallways more times last year than I did my entire 12-year career. It was just a breakdown of behaviors. And I don't think that's necessarily policy's fault or administration's fault. I think we got thrown back in, and it was just hard, I think there's some blame put, but I don't think the whole blame, or certainly not. But so it was.
What else did you see besides marijuana in the hallways?
Oh, the discussions of the bathrooms in the Gazette article that's pretty accurate. I had students who just didn't want to go to the bathroom.
So bathrooms, Bill,
I know.
It was I characterized this earlier in the week like Michelle Pfeiffer from Dangerous Minds, the movie.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
The bathrooms, there was. It sounds like fights was the best thing in the bathroom. The Crozet Gazette article depicted sex.
I didn't encounter that, but certainly drugs and vaping.
Drugs, weed?
Yeah, for sure.
Worse?
I don't know. I could smell the weed. I didn't go in there. I just wouldn't go in. I don't know.
Would all teachers avoid the bathroom?
Well, we got assigned to it at one point in the year to watch, during lunch, and so we'd watch, and I think that helped. But yeah, they shut down one of the main bathrooms at one point. It was just too many kids. I don't know. When you don't enforce a tardy policy, kids are late. And, when you don't enforce skipping, kids skip. When you don't enforce being around the hallway for 30 minutes, they do it. And I don't know what the rationale was for not enforcing that kind of thing, but they didn't. And I brought it up at the beginning of the year. I need a tardy policy. I told my administrator, and basically we can't enforce tardies, so we have too much else going on. Okay, well, you're going to enforce way bigger things if you don't enforce tardies. You have to start with the small things. You nip it at the small things, and then you don't have to deal with the big things. That's always been my view on things, but I don't know.
Was it lawlessness?
I don't know. My room was calm.
Because of you.
Yeah, well, of course. But that, but I don't. Yeah, outside the hallways. It got better. There was waves of it. It's a long year. It wasn't. I didn't like it. I got cussed out. I told some kids they should stop doing whatever they're doing, and I got cussed out for it, and I didn't feel like I had really anyone I could tell about it. That was kind of my feeling.
So when you get cussed out, what's the response from you?
I don't
use the F-bomb?
Yeah, pretty much. Or I say, I forgot what I did in that case. I just said, don't you dare talk to me like that. I don't remember, to be honest, what I did. I remember getting cussed out. Gosh. Yeah, and I didn't feel like I could tell an administrator about it, but that's okay. That's
not okay.
No, it's not okay. But in the scheme of things, the insecurity of the place was pretty high, and that's kind of low on the totem pole, I'd say. So, 4 times we got called. We had to go on lockdown. That's insane.
Tell us about that.
Oh gosh, I remember.
What does lockdown mean?
So, a threat's called in, or posted on Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok or whatever, one of the things. It goes out to all the kids. The kids all know about, this. There's a threat to the, someone's threatening to shoot up the school, or there's some dangerous message being going out to every kid, and then someone tells an administrator about it. This is all kind of slow process, to say the least. The kids know way more than we do, that's for sure. And we get some announcement by email or goes over PA. We're officially on lockdown. We're trying to assess if this threat's credible or not. Cops show up, and then when that happens, all the kids their parents want to come pick them up. So the whole day's disruptive. We lose a whole day of teaching. I mean, and it's scary too. It's scary for everyone. No, it's never fun. I mean, it's scary for kids. It's scary for me. It's just not a great situation. And why so much last year? Why so much last year? I don't know.
I think it's the collateral damage of quarantine.
Yeah.
And the lack of human connection that was experienced over a year of learning in quarantine.
Yeah.
What violence to teachers?
Yeah, I mean, one of my good friends got pushed. She was trying to break up a fight. I was terrible that happened to her. And she fell and she had to go to the hospital.
Female teacher?
Female teacher, yeah.
Tall,
she was, yes. She was, a big lady, not to say that, but yeah. And then you read the Gazette, with the guy.
Stitches?
Yeah, it's awful.
What is the protocol when there's violence to teachers, when there's other teachers around?
Gosh,
do you jump in or do you stay away? I mean,
so we didn't have a teacher handbook last year, if you could believe that. I've never taught without a teacher handbook, so no, I don't know the protocol. I mean, if I was there, I'd probably have a different response than a small female teacher, right? I mean, my ability to break up a fight would be greater than some teachers, and I'd probably feel more comfortable doing it, right? But there's not really a protocol around these things, unfortunately. Hopefully teachers shouldn't have to be put in that position, right? Hopefully that would be the idea of teachers having a gun in their I wouldn't never want to have a gun in my room, to prevent some intruder situation. I would never want that. But it is what it is. But yeah, we didn't have we don't have, there's not really a rule around that kind of thing, so.
What's the lockdown procedure?
Well, if kids are in the hallway, we get them in. It doesn't matter if they're in a room or not. We just clear out the hallways. We lock our door. We shut all the windows. If we feel that the threat is not credible, we might continue teaching. If it's a full lockdown, we huddle in one corner of the room to avoid being seen, basically, is the idea. We want to, and I'd be closer to the door than the kids, so I could maybe deal with it. There's a lot of, in terms of how to deal if an intruder enters the room, there's different things to do in that case, but that the general protocol is just as I described. Yeah.
For the sake of a talk show, I agree the teachers should not have guns with them. For the sake of a talk show, why did you emphatically say I would never want a gun in my possession in my classroom?
It's too much. I don't have a gun myself. I wouldn't want to be responsible for that. That's too much. That's a lot to put on teachers. Some teachers maybe are better trained for that, and maybe there are some and that would feel more comfortable with it. I would not feel comfortable with it.
Multiple viewers and listeners are asking, what is the consequence to kids that are fighting in school? Are there consequences?
Well, there's a lot of discussion about suspension and its efficacy, right? So does it help to suspend a kid? This is a question, right? There was a concerted effort to not suspend kids, and I almost had kids that were on administrative leave. That sounds like a suspension to me, but it's a different code in our attendance system. So suspended is SUS in the grading system. And then there's something else that they invented last year. I don't know. I guess they put kids on administrative leave instead of suspending them. I don't know.
I've heard that from multiple teachers. So here's the scenario that I'm in. We're keeping track with an Excel file. 53 ACPS teachers have reached out to us, all insisting upon anonymity for fear of retribution. all insisting, asking, pleading, begging, encouraging me to get you specifically on the show.
Wow. Okay.
You came up at the Albemarle County School Board meeting last night with folks saying, looking forward for you to come on the show.
Wow. Okay.
You should see we have a software platform that aggregates the comments. This is all over social media right now. And all the comments are getting aggregated to one place. Everyone's giving you props and speaking to your courage and your chutzpah and your heart to stand up and what you're doing right now. Okay? Like, seriously.
Appreciate that. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
The teachers have said that superintendent's office doesn't want suspensions on the records for the school system.
Yep.
The word fight, the specific word fight, utilized on the record with the school systems. In fact, in the Crozet Gazette article, which I found extremely hard to believe, I believe it was the principal that said there was one fight at Western Albemarle High School. One in the year. I mean, that's very difficult to believe.
Right.
And they characterized it, the principal, as, air quotes, the fight. So there's clearly brand management, perception management, juking the stats, paperwork management.
Yeah, I believe that.
That is happening with nefarious or egregious scenarios. And those scenarios seem to be failing from a performance standpoint, fighting from a physicality standpoint, tardiness, truancy, arrests.
Yeah.
This seems disingenuous.
I believe it is. I mean, there's kids, that in terms of academics, that had a passing grade and did very little of the work, because of these new policies that are very visible to everyone, right? I know there's a concerted effort to, limit suspension. We do in-school suspension instead, I don't know what the best way to help students to behave is. I don't think just kind of putting everything under the rug is the way to handle it, though.
No.
You have to deal with it.
That ain't the real world.
You have to deal with it. You have to deal with it, and you have to deal with it as an individual basis, right? You can't deal with it as a number in the grade in some big system, right? You have to look at each situation and deal with it, and help the kid to, find success in school. That's one thing. Another thing is to behave. They can't have success without a little bit of behavior and structure, and they have to be on time to class, right? They have to even if they don't want to be on time to class, they have to be on time to class. It's not really a choice in these things, right? The structure needs to be there, right? But yeah, I mean, I started the year doing what I always do with tardies, and I quickly realized I wrote many referrals because that's what I have always done, I quickly realized none of those were being processed, or nothing was happening, and, I was like, okay, and then I reached out about it, well, what's the policy? Because I want to follow the policy on tardies. Well, we're not going to enforce tardy policy this year. Okay. All right. Well, I guess my kids are going to show up when they show up. I mean, I don't know, all right. I mean, I would, say you really should be on time to math. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do for other classes. For this class, you need to be on time, because I'm going to use my personality, right? That what else do I have? So, I don't know, I witnessed, that part in the Gazette article with the kids stampeding, out of the breezeway. I was in the hallway during that time.
Paint the picture.
It was just, we were just watching a colleague and I was watching.
It was a fight, right?
We didn't see the fight. Okay. We were just in the. There was, though, from what I understood, but we were just at our post, kind of at one of the doors to the breezeway, and then all of a sudden, another teacher was on duty. I was just passing by, and they just started stampeding, and the teacher on duty was, a small lady, and they just ran and, ran through the school. It was crazy.
What are we talking stampede?
Oh, 50 kids, maybe more, just all running together. These are, teenagers.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, I was upset, to say the least.
Well, and dangerous.
It definitely.
That's how people get trampled.
Definitely, it's definitely dangerous. And why did they do it? I wasn't at the time. I didn't know, but I saw it happening, and I remember another administrator was there, and they started doing what they had to do. But it was.
How do you stop that?
You don't.
You allow the stampede to tire out?
Yeah, they ran past me. I wasn't going to run after them. I don't know. I didn't know what to do.
You don't have lassos.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you do? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if any consequences happen. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not privy to all that. There's a lot of things I don't know.
You made a comment earlier that resonated with me, and it's resonating with the viewers and listeners about the students are way smarter than us teachers. Unpack that comment for us.
In terms of, I grew up in the 90s. None of us had these insanely powerful devices that connects us to information beyond our wildest dreams at all times on us. Everything was quite local in a way. They have and they've been given one at birth almost, it feels like. I know that's not true. It
kind of is.
Their proficiency, especially with things like video, is way higher than mine. It's definitely and for me too, right? It's almost like it's another piece of me, right? It's my brain that connects me to.
It's a drug addiction. This is a drug addiction.
Oh yeah, it was terrible last year too with teaching. With that, we didn't have a policy. Go figure about cell phones last year. I hear that the new cell phone policy is a good thing, and I'm glad that they're doing something about that. But yeah, I mean, so they have access to a lot of information, and they are on all the networks. I know bullying happens on all these things. They have access to each other in a way that I don't understand, to be perfectly honest, because I still am not a huge social media person. But they have access to a lot of information, right? And it's not all bad. You can't. Everything is all things at once, right? But it does have some sides of it that are, maybe they need to be taught better how to use it. I don't know how to teach them how to use it, though. How do you tell a teenager, be responsible on the internet? I don't know. Do you know how to tell them that? I don't know how.
I'm dealing this with our kid right now.
Yeah.
Our kid is 4.5.
Yeah.
And he's doing stuff on, literally, I swear, he's 4.5. And he's doing stuff on YouTube, that I set up a turbo toy time with him. It's literally a father and son playing with toys.
Wow.
And then next thing I know, I go to take the dog out and come back 5 minutes later, and he's watching Avengers.
Wow.
He's 4.5 years old. He went from turbo toy time to watching Avengers. And I said, you're 4.5 years old. You can't watch Avengers.
Yeah, right.
You're 4.5 years old.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, I turned my head for 3-4 minutes.
Right.
I literally went from the kitchen to the basement, let the dog out in the backyard, walk back up, and Avengers is on YouTube.
Yeah.
He's 4.5 years old. I can't even imagine what 16 and a half or 17, what you're saying.
Yeah, what do you do? How do you talk to him about it? I don't know,
How about cell phones in schools?
I'm glad that they've made the policy change. That's for damn sure.
How is it? Can it be enforced?
In my room, I could have enforced a policy if I had a policy.
And they listen? Would they?
I would make sure they would. If I had a policy that backed it up, I would have made sure.
What does that mean? In the backpack, and if they don't listen, you take it and
I
put
take
it in the desk?
away. Yeah, I would definitely. No, I don't remember the specifics of the policy this year. I think they get I think you tell them to put it up, right? If they don't put it up, you physically take it. I'm not sure, or maybe you send them down to the office to take it. I'm not sure. I don't remember. I haven't read the policy. I'm not a teacher right now. But, I would have in my room. And I guess that's a teacher by teacher thing because, it's a very, there's not a lot of oversight in some ways, for what happens in the room. But I certainly would have enforced a cell phone policy if I had it.
How about, dude, You have so many parents and teachers watching you right now on the show. And I'm going to try to get to as many of these comments as humanly possible, guys. You send a student to the principal's office because the student is not listening to you, is disruptive, is fighting, is swearing, is vaping, smoking weed, on the cell phone, whatever it may be. They go to the principal's office for accountability or what you think is accountability. The teachers are asking, saying, Jerry, they get sent right back to the classroom.
Yeah.
Walk us through that. From a process and mythology standpoint, and from a demoralization standpoint for the teacher.
Oh, it's awful when that happens. It feels so bad. I mean, I have the advantage of being a big guy, that has a lot of. I can be. I don't know. I can take control of my room, in a way. So I have that advantage. But like,
you're talking physically imposing.
I don't know if I wouldn't. Sure, okay. No. I mean, but I'm not trying to. I never try to like intimidate or anything. But like, if I have to take control of a situation because something bad's happening, I can, right? But like, I've had it happen to me in the past, where something happens in my room, and I have to tell the kid they have to leave, right? And either the administrator can't do anything about it or whatever, or ISS is full, and they get sent back. It's very demoralizing. And you just feel like, and it's this kid in the room who you can't deal with right now, right? Because you can't deal with that kid right now. And they're in the room and they're in the back of your mind, because there was some altercation, or whatever, something happened, right? And you feel bad about it, right? And they're in your room, and it's very hard. It distracts you. It kind of ruins the day in a way, You're not teaching at your best after that, right? And I don't know how you make sense of it. It's tough. I don't know.
School resource officers in school. Your thoughts on that?
Oh man, I was never for them being removed. I don't.
You were pro SRO, school resource officers?
Like what everyone is
teachers?
Though. Yeah, everyone is. Like even the kids are. Like read the survey results. I don't know where they get this. Like most kids want SRO officers. Almost every teacher does. I don't know what.
Almost every teacher in ACPS wants school resource officers in the schools.
Absolutely. I mean, there should be someone there to deal with the drugs, if anything. I mean, that should be a legal enforcement thing, right? I mean, that's illegal on every level. You cannot do drugs at school, period. I mean, there should be drug dogs if it has to be. You got to cut that out. And there needs to be someone there to do it. It should be legally handled, right? I don't know.
I 1,000% agree with you. I'll throw this firsthand perspective.
Yeah.
I am very pro-police on this show.
Yeah.
Anyone that puts on a bulletproof vest, puts a gun on his or her hip, and goes out to make a living and is uncertain about their physical health and whether they come out alive or hurt when they return to their family, I don't have to deal with that when I go to this job.
Yeah.
These folks are doing this for our quality of life. As I've said many times, are there bad apples in any police department? Absolutely. Like there's bad apples in teaching and marketing and advertising and real estate in any field of employment. There are bad apples. So to utilize one or two bad apples to characterize an entire department is completely unfair to the police. So I've caught a lot of heat for saying that. I'm going to catch a lot of heat for saying that right now. Okay? There is a loud and organized, vocal, small minority in this community. Call them socialists, call them radical left, whatever we want to call them. Okay? They live on Twitter, lurk on Twitter, active on Twitter, and they are vehemently opposed to school resource officers because school resource officers, according to them, will take something and immediately escalate it to arrests or something that's permanent on a student's record, as opposed to giving them second or third chances. The minority on Twitter says the school resource officers are often targeting students of color And this is something that keeps students of color and sets them back because they develop criminal records and things that could be de-escalated in other tactics. From my standpoint, I don't buy that. You're saying
I don't buy it
the
either.
large majority of ACPS students and teachers also do not buy it. Is that what you're saying?
Well, there was a poll. It was like some 68%, right? Do you remember that poll?
Yeah. Show is yours.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear. I mean, everyone knows. Like that's a super majority. Once you have 68%, it's a super majority. I mean, you go with that. What utopian vision are you imagining to like think that this was it's gonna? I don't know. I don't know what the thought is. You know, it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, there's always going to be problems that you have to deal with. You have to deal with it. I don't know what else to say. You know,
I love this guy. I love this guy. Multiple people are asking you, would you run for school board?
Oh, geez. I don't know.
Have you even thought about that?
I haven't really, to be honest.
You have not thought about it?
No, I haven't.
I'm 23 comments like this.
Well, I don't know.
Would you run for school board?
I don't know.
You live in the city.
I live in the city, yes.
So it would not be county if he ran. He would have to run for city school board. Would you ever do that?
I don't know. I that's a big discussion with my wife, to be perfectly honest, and I'm not. Yeah.
Totally get it. Follow-up question. A lot are asking this. Would you ever consider returning back to teaching?
At this point, probably not. I think it's just the chapter of my life that, you know, it was a good time. I really enjoyed it.
12 years.
It was a great time. It was a really good for me, and I think it's, you know, I've had many chapters in my life. I'm happy to have another one, you know, and that's fine, you know. But I don't think I'll come back.
I would have loved if our sons were taught by you.
Yeah, I connected with boys for sure. They often my girls too, but you know, I had a lot of boys who really responded well to me. You know, and I did too when I was in high school. I remember I had a male math teacher who I really connected with. You know. And I think it's they don't tend to see many men until they get to high school. So and most teachers are women. So it's always nice for the boys especially to, you know, they respond well to me.
The number one teacher I ever had in my entire life was Mr. Ed Gillespie. He was my algebra 2 trig, and pre-calculus teacher.
You had him 3 years. Wow.
3 years of high school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Gillespie taught me lessons in life that still resonate with me today. We used to get some extra points on our tests if we wrote the acronym DWYGD on top of our test, and the acronym stood for do what you gotta do. And it was do what you gotta do to figure out the answer. Get to the answer, figure it out. And he said this acronym should resonate and stay with you for the rest of your life. It applies to everything. And to your point, Mr. Gillespie was really the first teacher in my life that was a male. So oftentimes as a boy that was high energy, hyperactive, alpha, always looking to push the tempo, looking for shortcuts, smart, but because of that lazy, because I could coast and get by, this man held me accountable. And for some reason, maybe it's probably because he was a male, it resonated with me even more. Maybe there was a little fear. Maybe there was a little of like, Dad, there? Throw that back to you. Is that what you've seen?
I don't know. It's hard to characterize it. I guess so. I think, yeah, I mean, it's such an archetypical role, right? The mentor and the teacher, and yeah, I mean, especially for young men, boys, they need mentorship in many cases, you know. And it sounds like he was that for you.
He was,
and you know, he was interested in. I don't know.
He cared.
Yeah.
He asked about stuff outside of pre-cal.
Yeah.
Like, how did this go? I know you were doing this last night. Showed up at the games.
That's really nice of him. Yeah.
Took interest.
Yeah. Yeah.
And obviously, I mean, multiple people on the show here, you have our votes, Bill. You have our votes. He would be great on the school board. Please get him back in the classroom, Jerry. He has our votes.
Yeah.
I mean, what's this mean to you?
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. But
I totally get it. The chapter's
it's
close.
A lot. Yeah, it's a lot,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. So
you have given us 70 minutes of your time. Like this is.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you.
I swear. This has been one of the best interviews we've done in the 8 years of this network.
Oh, thank you so much.
And it's because of your authenticity. And it's obvious that you care. Is there a message that the community should know about the superintendent's office? I was at the school board meeting last night, and it was from 6:30 to 11:02 p.m. I got there at 6:27.
Wow.
It was, Bill, like watching paint dry.
Yeah, right.
It was one of the most slow-moving, boring, and just like all the cliches of local government encompassed in this meeting.
Yeah, sure.
And there was one key element that was determined in this meeting, and it was buried in the middle, and it was the school bus driver vote. One of the school board members wanted to make a motion that night to approve the equalization of bus driver pay with Charlottesville City from 16 and change an hour to $21 an hour. Still not a living wage.
Right.
Still
barely. Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
She vehemently fought for this. I'm going to get her name right.
Yeah.
School board member, Albemarle County. Okay? I want to get her name right here so she gets the props that she deserves, because the school board watches the program. Okay? Found that out last night. The Katrina Coulson, the vice chair, fought vehemently to make a motion last night. The motion lost 4-3. John, I'm butchering his last name, Alcaro, poo-pooed it all.
Why? Why did you do that?
I need more study period.
Yeah.
I want to consider this more. I want to talk to more people. Let's delay it so we can hear from more stakeholders. All the red tape mumbo jumbo. Okay? Even the ones that voted in favor of it, Ellen Osborne voted in favor of it, and Graham Page, the chair, voted in favor of it. They voted in favor of it after that they saw that there were already 4 votes that voted against it.
Wow.
So even if they voted in favor of it, it didn't really matter their vote, because there was already 4 of 7 that said no. So they could have said yes just to save face. Just to say, like, hey, I'm fighting for the bus drivers.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you.
John Alcaro poo-pooed it. David Oberg, who wasn't even there, he was on speakerphone, poo-pooed it. And then you had Judy Lee, who I've been told lives across from the school, and her students literally can walk to their school. I won't say which one. Too much respect for kids. Kids can walk to the school. That's how close. And then Kata Cuff said no. Okay? So this is what has...
What did Haas say about it, though? What was his recommendation?
It's exactly what you said.
That's the key.
You know what it said? You know what it was?
Yeah, what was his?
I watched yesterday
Yeah.
that the school board members have no freaking idea what's going on. And
No idea.
Haas, to the side, is the puppeteer.
Yep, exactly.
He's the puppeteer, and he's got 7 people on string.
And that's his job, to be fair. He needs to be in control. He's the professional, right? But there needs to be oversight.
That's what I'm saying.
There needs to be oversight.
I saw
it's going
no
too
one
far.
on that board that had your courage or your spine or your backbone or your gumption or chutzpah, whatever we're going to call it, to stand up and say, like, dude, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah, I see that. I saw that too when I was there. I saw the same thing. I saw Haas and I saw, his puppets. So
Haas and his puppets.
Yeah,
that's what it was last night.
I don't want to.
No, I said it. You didn't say it. I said it.
There you
okay,
go.
I said it. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the message for the community when it comes to leadership here?
Jeez, I don't know. It's hard. I'll put, it's always hard. But we've gone too far one direction, and we need to bring it back to the center. And that's just my message. Like there's too much. People aren't able to talk, and it's really sad. And it's gone too far one way. It needs to be brought back to the center. That's all I have to say. So,
Judah, one of the best ones we've ever done. Wait till you see what happens after this interview with so many people giving you props. And I swear, just giving you, thanking you. When you see this man around this community, whether it's at the farmer's market, the downtown mall, anywhere online, social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, reach out to Bill now. Thank him. Reach out to Bill on social media right now and thank him. He just gave us an hour and 15 minutes of his most precious commodity, his time. And he did one of the most courageous things that I've ever seen done on this network in 8 years. And we've had senators and councilmen and supervisors and delegates on this program. And I think this may have been the most courageous interview we've ever seen. We're lucky to have you in this community. I wish our sons would have been taught by you, like sincerely.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not doing it. You know,
you don't. I totally understand.
I am a little, but it is what it is.
I totally understand.
Yeah.
I think you're going to be the best software. Is it double stack? Is that
full stack.
The best full stack developer ever.
I hope so. We'll see.
And
it's a high bar.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
Yeah.
The interview archive, wherever you get your podcasts, and on ilovecville.com. Thank Bill when you see him. Judah Wittcower is our director. My name is Jerry Miller. So long, everybody.
All right.
He's going to tell us when the mics are off.